Welcome, people. Good afternoon. I'm very pleased to welcome you to St. Andrews College, to the Center for Training Canadian Studies. We're happy to have with us today a colleague and a student from Lviv Polytechnic National University. Mariana Hasiak is also a scholarship winner, and she's here studying. She'll tell you a bit about what she's studying. But today she's presenting on some of the work she's been involved in at Lviv Polytechnic. And I think the way it'll work will be, Mariana will speak for about half an hour. We'll have time for questions and coffee. If anybody wants coffee or tea, I'd invite you to go to the cafeteria and help yourself. And there's cookies on the table. So very pleased to have you here, Mariana, and turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming here today. My name is Mariana Hasiak. I am a PhD student at social work at Lviv Polytechnic National University, and I also work part-time at the International Integration Center for Professional Partnerships at Lviv Polytechnic University. Today I will talk on behalf of the social work education program, and I would like to start with introducing you the key persons working at Lviv Polytechnic during these years. The social work program at Lviv Polytechnic University started due to cooperation with the University of Manitoba and support which we had during all this time. The key people are Dr. Nina Haiduk, my co-advisor, scientific advisor, and my director. For 4 years I've been working at Integration Center. The second person is Dr. Lilia Kloss. She is now the head of the Department of Sociology and Social Work, and Dr. Larissa Klimatska, who started her work as the director of Integration Center since 2020. Today we are working on the concept of a healthy university. You may find it funny or not, but it is based on the Okanagan Charter, which was signed here in Canada. We are talking about recognition of social and cultural diversity, inclusive of history, tradition, values, and knowledge. The work we are doing is based on the cooperation within the university and with community, the community-based work. The motto of our work is fix the environment but not the person. Today we are speaking about students with special educational needs and how we can support them during their study at the university. Previously we had the term student with disability, but as far as the situation is changing in Ukraine, today we have different other groups of students who may need additional support. We see ourselves at the academic level through the cooperation with administration, resource centers as our center, but also with institutes at the departments. But we are also cooperating with local authorities at the regional level, with non-governmental, governmental, religious organizations. We are trying to cooperate as well at the national level and international, as far as I'm representing the International Center. That's the big part of work we are doing. Our work is based on needs assessment. Here you can see some numbers of students we are working to provide support for. Important thing is that, for example, the first number, students with disabilities, in 2018-2019 academic year we had a number 225, and this year we have the number 374. And it works like that with other numbers as well. Every year the numbers raise. So we are facing these challenges to be there for these students and to provide some support for them. You may also see there was a research done at Lviv Polytechnic University about alcohol addiction, and as far as we have war in Ukraine, some people are coming back. I'm not saying that only military related persons are overusing alcohol. You may see the picture here, 22% of school children and students of higher education establishments drink alcohol very often or often. Why I'm telling all this? Because these are main areas we are working on, and these are the reasons we are working there. It may not be impressive for you here. While I'm here for some time, I see how accessible the University of Manitoba is. It's not like that at Lviv Polytechnic University. Because of buildings built years ago, quite old, and very often they are non-accessible. In the last few years, we achieved what we have now, few buildings accessible. The accessibility services we established is located in the academic building number 1. We have also plans developed with architects to how to make campuses of Lviv Polytechnic University barrier-free. Here are our resources, or even ourselves. You may see the resource center established in 2011. We are cooperating in the area of support totally blind people. That center I'm working at, it was established on December 2015. I've joined it on May 2016. I will have a tiny jubilee in a month, my 4th year there. Basically, it started from the idea of support students with disability. The model roadmap was developed. I will tell more about it next slide. The partnership networking was launched, but maybe it was launched under this title because university itself and the department and the center were cooperating with different partners all over these years. And at 2017, No Limits Services of Accessibility to Learning Opportunities, the long title, I used to call it No Limits Accessibility Services, was established to support students with disabilities and chronic illnesses. And the no less important multidisciplinary team was formed. All the representatives of all institutes, we have 16 institutes within Polytechnic University, were defined to support us in our work with students with disabilities in these institutes. Here you can see the map, how we basically work with students. We are reaching them during their entrance to the university. When they are coming and if they need some support, they can come to us. To be honest, all these stages are on their development stage still, because sometimes it's not easy to reach out to students. Sometimes it's so stigmatized, person doesn't want to be known as a person with disabilities. So the second step we are trying to assess what student needs, what our student needs, and what we can do for this student, evaluating the university resources. Then the plan is formed, the individual support plan, all together in cooperation with these students. Then we can go to the director of the university or the department and talk to them on behalf of this student. The two last parts are still not so developed because we actually started this last year, so we are not, at least the completion of the study, these students are still studying, but we hope we would be able to provide them some support on that stage as well. That's what accessibility services to learning opportunities are. We are trying not only to work with the student, but also promote the disability studies, talk about disabilities and other educational needs we have to meet to help our students. We are speaking about formation of inclusive consciousness. We are working with the students. We are trying to move the transformation of the university to barrier-free. That's not easy. And we are also trying to recognize what strategies, what technologies exist now in other countries that we can use. While I was here, I had a chance to go to the student accessibility services at the University of Manitoba. I've learned what other groups of students people are working here with, like learning difficulties and things we are not working with yet, but hopefully will. So these are 4 areas. Then I may start from the top right. Work with the student with disability himself or herself. Work with faculty. We are doing this. We are doing information campaigns for faculty and staff and for students. I don't know how strange or not it is for you here, because I see people with disabilities, it's not something unusual. In Ukraine, sometimes it can be when it comes to mental health challenges or something people are not well aware of. It may be not so easy to work with within the academic environment. That's why we have some kind of presentations for staff, for faculty, for students. Sometimes we learn even more from these instructors, because they may not have theoretical knowledges, but they have experience as far as they are working with students with different types of disabilities. And for years they didn't have any support in that. We are, as I mentioned before, working on learning environment transformation, and the big important part of our work is community work, because the center is all together with the Department of Sociology and Social Work aims to provide support for the community. Social workers are studying at the department, and that's where they are going to the community. So we have these connections with advisory committee and other organizations, as I've mentioned before. Another direction of our work is work with military. Since 2014, we have the project, Ukraine-Norway project, retraining and social adaptation of military officers and their family members in Ukraine. And there are a few very interesting things about this project. First, this project is the only one providing support for family members as well, not only for military officers. Second, it is founded by Norway, but recently it started the Ministry for Veteran Affairs of Ukraine looked at this project and decided it is important to include these years of work that have been done to developing new strategies for working with veterans. The project started years ago in Crimea to support military officers there, and there was the military base. But after 2014, it was taken away from Crimea after the occupation and annexation of Crimea, and it was started in almost 20 different cities of Ukraine. One of these, we are the part of this project as the university, and working with veterans and their family members, we've realized that sometimes they need different attitudes and additional support in their studies as well. Therefore, it was decided to establish the Center for Supporting Veterans, and the community health clinic, I will talk a bit later, was developed at this time as well. Since 2014, we had more than 400 people in the project. Last year it was 66 people, but in 2018, for example, we had more than 150 people who wanted to participate in the project, and we were not able to provide them because we are limited. Our group is 35 people. Therefore, we want to support these students, and the Veteran Services was established to assist them during their studies, to create a safe space for them where they will have some support and professionals working with them. We had project on adapted physical activity, and we may develop this area as well. We are trying to organize some events for these particular students. And just recently I've got news from Ukraine that the space itself, it is a big project to establish the space, to organize it all for veterans. It took few months to raise the money with the support of big IT company in Lviv, Software. We got this money and the work just started like 2 weeks ago to create the space itself. It looks amazing. You have to come to Lviv when it will be done. On October, we've been celebrating the 20th years anniversary of the project with University of Manitoba, and there were different areas of work, but one of these were military part, and it was defined that we want to work and learn what is done in the world in this area and what we can use in our work in Ukrainian reality. The resolution is there. I printed it out actually in Lviv and brought it. But you can also take a look on it at our site. I will provide the information later. So that is how I am personally here, because the topic of my PhD research is the development of inclusive education environment for war veterans at higher education. These are the general purpose and objectives of my work here. They were very well developed. I'm not sure if I would be able to meet all these, but yesterday I had a very interesting meeting at Military Support Office at the University of Manitoba, and I discovered that here you have the person, only one in Canada, who is working on transferring credits for military officers from their military study into credits for the university. That's the only one who is doing that for the whole Canada, and the University of Manitoba is one of 2 universities who has these services. That's how international cooperation works. I can also mention few important projects we are also working on. This one started in 2015. It is the cooperation with Würzburg University, Germany, mainly around supporting educational process for students with disability, but also adapted physical activity and even rehabilitation. This one is about alcohol dependency prevention or therapy. It started the course itself. I'm not personally involved in this one, this project, but a few instructors of the Department of Sociology and Social Work are taking courses, and they are trained to develop a dependency therapy education system in Ukraine, as far as we don't have it yet. So here we are. On this model, you can see, on the one hand, the results of work we are doing, and on the other hand, the perspectives we see in our further work. 3 programs: program of healthcare and health promotion, program of social work education, and program of social inclusion and rehabilitation. It is the program, or the model was developed by Integration Center and the Department of Sociology and Social Work, but with cooperation within the university, with administration, and you can see some other departments, like Department of Physical Education, as well as in cooperation with Resource Center. It's the way we see we can promote, we can work on a healthy university concept and other issues, including education and research and development. So here we are. We're working on our goals. We are successful in some areas. We face some challenges. The success factors were defined as working within partnership networks, integration theory and practice, communicating at different levels, and also including or taking into account the cultural, socio-cultural differences we have. The good example is the project with Germany. It started at scientific conference, then the few practical events were held in Germany and in Ukraine, and then we started the cooperation within our 2 institutions at the level of university, and were funded by foreign federal office, so it's all levels included. And we've seen these differences when we went there to Germany and when German professionals came to Ukraine. Major challenges is about policy, social policy in particular. Social work is changing, and it's always improving, innovative, but it's not like that with the policy. The policy moves slowly, or slower. So sometimes even when the law is passed, it's not so easy to work because there is no this mechanism for its implementation. The same is at the university level. Sometimes we are working on some orders, we are developing it. It is passed at the big scientific board of the university, but when it comes to the implementation, it's not easy because people just don't know how to do that. So sometimes we are policymakers, but sometimes we are those who are trying to find out how to make it work. And we are always open to new cooperation. We are, as was mentioned before, we are doing researches. We are trying to involve new partners. We are trying to be useful for our partners as well, and we are basing our activities on the cooperation with community. Here I would like, on behalf of the Lviv Polytechnic National University, Department of Sociology and Social Work, and International Integration Center, to express our gratitude to the University of Manitoba for starting the project, to the Faculty of Social Work of the University of Manitoba for starting the social work education program in Lviv, and to other units of the University of Manitoba who've been supporting us during all this time. And personally, I would like to express my gratitude to St. Andrew's College for making it possible for providing me with this scholarship, and it's an honor for me to be here. Thank you very much. And here you can find us, the International Integration Center, and social media as well. So yeah, now that's it. Thank you for your attention, for coming here. If you have any questions, please. If not, I will give you a moment.
I have to apologize. I know very little about the work of Lviv, even though some people from my department have been involved. I can understand so much, so I'm very, I need information. I'm very unclear about what it is you do. So I can understand things like adapting the environment, presumably building ramps or lifts or something like that. And I can sort of understand consciousness raising, awareness. But could you give some practical examples of very practical things that you do? What I missed was maybe some stories of individuals, success stories of individuals. I was very struck, for example, by how many of the people are war veterans, veterans of the war. Does that mean injured people? Does that mean people without limbs? I'd like to just sort of have some practical, concrete examples.
Thank you for your questions. It's a very good question. First, the practical work and the success story. For example, we have a student, a foreign student, who is using wheelchair, and he is studying at architecture, and the architecture department is located in main building of Lviv Polytechnic University, which is not accessible because of these stairs, and it's cultural heritage, and it's not easy to move with that. So the university bought the machine which can be used for this student, and they are using, I even have pictures, I maybe should have included those. So he is using it with the help of his friends to move from the first floor to the second floor. That's very, very practical part of it. It is located there at the security point, and the person who needs it can use it. The problem is that we have other not accessible buildings, and we don't have this machine at all of these because it's quite expensive. With veterans, we have a student also in a wheelchair. Maybe the numbers are great. We are not cooperating yet with all these students. We are just aware of them, but we are trying to reach them out. They are not coming, not all of them. We are working with few people, and that's something we are working on to promote, to let people know about ourselves. So we have the veteran student. He is also using a wheelchair, and what we are doing for him is that we are giving him a parking spot when he's coming, because he's using car, so he has now these limits to call the security or something like that. It is working. It sounds different because here it is accessible and you don't need to do it, but to enter the university territory in Ukraine, you have to let people know. So he is doing that through us. We know when he is coming, and that's what we can do. The one more person, we can change. For example, if the person has classes on the 3rd floor, on the 5th floor, and it's not easy for this student to do it, we are calling the people responsible for these schedules, and we are trying to change it to make it on the 1st floor of the accessible building. We have one student like that as well, and it was not easy, but in Ukraine, we have this, that if people hear that we need to help person with disability, people are very open to do that. So sometimes, I maybe should not tell that, but sometimes we just call and they change it, and then we sign all the documents and send it to them. Because the person, sometimes, like, these students are coming to us today, and tomorrow is the day they want to change it. So they are not coming before they really need it. And some students think that we are there to give them good marks, or to go to the instructor to talk about them. So it is still on very developing stage.
You direct these former soldiers, you direct them to courses where they can retrain and get a skill? Is that how it works?
Yes, basically that's the 4 months, the 1 semester course, but very intensive. They are coming for evening time. They have like 4 or 5 hours of study, and that is, we had different courses. For last 2 years, we have IT, because it's very developing in Lviv, so they are taking courses in English language, because it's very important to know the language, and IT itself. So this is very, it is limiting in some way. Not every person wants to work in IT, but that's what the project is about.
One more question. Do you look at the macro level as well? I can understand visiting classes, professors encouraging them to have this all-inclusive, this integrative way of thinking. Do you also work at the political level? Do you talk to the city level, to community?
Some representatives of our department are working at the Ministry of Social Policy, or not all the time, but they are working on developing some programs. For example, program on social welfare. The instructor from our department is involved in developing these standards, because it's something new, as well as mediation. We have the instructor at our department who is for years involved in this area at the ministry level. At the local, more local level, we have different initiatives. It depends. We are, maybe I cannot tell a lot about that, but definitely instructors of the department are having all these contacts with different like local governmental institutions, because it's the need. You have to know these people, to the field practices our students are doing there, and that's the cooperation on this level. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Well, it's also kind of related to Dr. Shkundri's question. You mentioned that you receive a lot of financial and other types of support from Canada, from Germany, from some private institutions in Lviv. So how supportive is the Ukrainian government of the project and of this entire endeavor in general?
First, we are not I would not say we are having so much money coming from abroad. That's not. For example, the project with Germany, we don't have money at all. Like, we are developing the project. It is the Germany who has that part, so we are involved in a way, but we don't have the money from that project. With the Norway project, yes. As well as Canadian support during these years from Ukrainian government. I'm not sure if I can answer this question. Like, I have to think about that. We are the educational institution, state university, so we have our salaries, we have support from the university, for example, for conducting Norway project. Part of one of the requirements of the project is that Polytechnic University provides some. So we have our teachers working, or our instructors working, and we also that's very detailed practice, but for example, 30 persons are there, 30 students are like their studies are paid by Norway project, and we take like 5 or 6 or 7 on the account of Polytechnic University. So that's basically how it works. We are getting the finances from the university, but not for projects. At least maybe I'm not aware of some. Maybe there are some other. Thank you.
Anybody else?
One other one. There's, I can see that you probably are very popular. I mean, what you're doing is very praiseworthy, and I'm sure that the local population or parts of it are very appreciative. Is there also a position? I mean, do people say, why are these people getting special privileges? Or, you know, is there sort of resistance to that? I mean, it's probably hard to get into university in Ukraine, and other people might feel that it's not fair.
Not yet. As far as I know, it is very important issues, and people understand that and accept that. And starting from the rector as the highest person at the position at the university, he's completely supportive, and the vice rectors. We have the vice rector responsible for social part. He's completely supportive, and that helps a lot. It helps us to develop these documents, to work on that. I would say maybe for some instructors it will be not so understandable, but nobody came to us saying you're doing something wrong. We didn't have, I don't have that experience, and I think people who are not very satisfied, they are not telling that because it's something not acceptable in society.
Those people who are enrolled in your program, like veterans, do they have to pay tuition?
No, it's completely free, but they have to pass some test.
Like
Sometimes,
admission, there's a admission process.
yeah, that's how we know how many people were there at the beginning. And sometimes we really look at we have open questions, and some people have really big problems with mental health issues, so we are trying to involve these people too. That's maybe not 100% professional, but at the point the instructors from social work are working with them, and it helps when then they are in the community of veterans as well. So that's something very important for us to meet this immediate needs. Some people are really in trouble.
These soldiers are from all over Ukraine, they're not just from Lviv.
No, they are from Lviv mainly, or we had few like coming from close towns, but as far as you have, and some were applying from far away, and we were not able to provide them with place to live. So that's a challenge also, but it's few because there are all this project has its centers in 20 cities in Ukraine. You don't have to come to Lviv to take this one. So,
Thank you, Mariana. If I might add, there's just a couple of things connected. You've tried to cover a huge amount of material, and I think you've done an admirable job. It's hard to imagine what it's like there, though, if you see the International Integration Center is connected to the Department, the Faculty of Sociology and Social Work, and the instructors from that unit are the people who work alongside Mariana and some other people in this integration center. And the integration center is this hub. It's a small room, but it's a hub where on any given day, you'll see people come flying in the door asking for something. And usually people sit down with them and try to assess their needs or connect them with someone in the community who might be able to work with them. In the last couple of years, I know the center has worked really closely with community members, professionals in the community, legal, medical, and also with the more local clinic, community clinic hospital that's attached to the university to try and assess the needs of the local university population as well as the community. And it's really quite amazing what's being done with pretty much no money. So the Norway project is bringing in some funds for the people who are studying, but out of that, the other students, I think, are gaining from the knowledge that's being shared with them and the energy that's brought by the instructors and other people at the center. Anyway, so you might want to talk with Mariana for an hour or three to find more about this, but thank you so much for sharing this information. Brad, yeah.
Just before you close off, I wondered if I could amplify your
Yes.
comments a little bit, so it's not really a question for Mariana, but one of the things that struck me in my visit in October, and appreciate I've been going there since prior to 1999 when we were and the project started in 1999, and there was the integration of some students with disabilities, particularly in wheelchairs and so on, into the social work program as it developed at that time. But the scale was very small, and it was oriented to individuals who were enrolling specifically in social work. And there wasn't a sort of climate of inclusive education at the university at that time that was that went beyond this sort of very small beginning. And we were working at that time primarily with the director or the director of the international relations. And what struck me coming there 20 years later, this last October, was the way in which, and appreciate this initiative that Mariana has described is relatively new, right? It's sort of in the early developmental stage, but the way in which the university has kind of become transformed to get behind this project, and the way in which that is being embraced by other departments and other faculties at the university, I think is quite a dramatic change from what it was in the early years of the social work project. So I was, I think it's important to emphasize that developmental project, or the developmental nature of that project, and the way in which the university itself and its outreach to the community has really changed to the point of view where people are behind this kind of a model of trying to move forward on not only inclusive education, but a more inclusive approach to society and to integrating people into society, and the university's role in that process. So I think that transformation really is important to emphasize.
I think that's huge, and if I might add, even in March of last year, just as an example, people reach out to the Integration Center and say, from the community, there was a woman working on dementia, and she's got a small NGO, she's a physician, an NGO of physicians who are trying to do some work on dementia and changing the government policy around how folks are offered services. And so she approached the Integration Center, do you know anybody who might know something? And so they reached out and they brought in a volunteer from Saskatchewan, and I came along with her, and they hosted, with the university support, a whole day workshop, trips around the community to actually do research, to look at what resources are presently available in the community. And then this is now snowballing, this connection, the connections that are being made from that conversation. I'm just always impressed every time I go there what's going on, because this group of folks is so instrumental. They now have the ear of a lot of higher administration at the university who understands now when they say something is important, they listen. And so I think they're making huge changes. It's not as visible if you haven't been there. If you hadn't been there before, you wouldn't necessarily notice the difference. But it is noticeable if you walk in the office and you can even just spend an hour there and you see people coming in from different departments saying, I have a student, I don't know what to do with him, where should I refer him? Or somebody from the community saying, I need access to something, how do we access these services? So yeah, it's hard for people to blow their own horns here, but there's some tremendous work being done there, and thank you for sharing a little bit of that with us. Thank you for coming to Canada, taking a risk on hanging out with us for a few months, and we look forward to hearing more about your own research when you're here too. And thank you all for coming and supporting this talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.